What I'm finding as we're doing all these multiple engines and different things, that it doesn't necessarily make any sense to buy the special tool for different things. I like to make my own tools when I can. This one happens to be to drive the cam nut on the front of the camshaft and get it torqued down. So yes, I have access to a mill. I milled a piece of round stock, put a slot in it. You'll see how that works with the nut, and back to that drawer of old sockets. All right, so today we're working on the Model A. That's what this socket is for. And we have camshaft is in, lifters are in, crank and pistons and rods are in. So we have a short block. So my order today, or process today, is going to get the nut on. I could also put on that front cover right away, but I probably will wait. And I'm going to get all the valve train in, side cover on, and then that front cover. Still be able to rotate it back here. And oil pan on, head on, and then this motor's done. Obviously we'll have to put on the bell housing and the flywheel and all that, and get it back into the car. That will be another day. Today we're going to get this thing buttoned up to the point where it at least has an oil pan on it.
So I'm getting prepped to put my valves and springs in, specifically the springs first. But these are adjustable lifters, and basically from their factory setting, they're a little bit longer than what I can use to begin with. So I need to turn the nut in, the adjustment nut actually in. Let's do this one here. So I can shorten the lifter length up. And then of course I'll adjust the lash once everything's assembled. Definitely something you want to do one time and not have to mess with all the time.
At this point I have all the valve train in, springs are in, lash has been set with the adjustable lifters, and I'll have to tell you this, that was kind of a pain in the butt. Reason being, as you can see here, I need to set lash when the valve is all the way closed. Well, when it's all the way closed, I can't reach the lifter side to hold it from turning to adjust the nut. So instead of being able to just run a feeler gauge in, boom, done, you have to go to the valve all the way closed, set your feeler gauge in there, find out what it is, then bring it all the way down, adjust it, go back up, check it again, down, up. Constantly a back and forth opposed to just rolling it to fully closed and then just setting it and you're done. You had to do a bunch of jockeying around back and forth. I am going to get this side cover on here. And of course the little intermediate shaft that drives the oil pump and the distributor from the camshaft. That is this little piece. So the old engines, specifically in our case this Model A, they're known to leak. Now I'm going to do my best to slow that leak down. So I'm putting silicone in places that Henry never put silicone because, well, he didn't have it. And taking a couple tips from the experts as far as how to put the rope seal in, where to put sealant, where to actually cut the pan gasket out of the way of the rope seal, all those types of things. So basically taking every precaution I can to try to get it to seal up the best it can, knowing that I'll still have probably a leak here or there. So I'm putting in our head studs here for our Model A. Now, for those of you that know Model A's in and out, you will be yelling at me going, you don't need to put Teflon on the studs. And you're 100% correct, because they don't go into the water jacket. However, one of these studs is on the bottom of this hole is actually blown out from a repair. So I am going to put some, I'm just going to put them on all of them, because my expectation is if that one blew out just because it did, then why not put a little Teflon on all of them and not have to think about it. So that is why I'm using some Teflon sealer on the studs. It's just in case the bottom of one of these other ones blows out, I don't have to worry about a coolant leak coming up through the top of the head. So once I get these down, hand tight, nothing more, I'll take and clean off all the sealer around the base. Obviously I'm getting more than I need. And then I'm going to put the head gasket on, put our high compression head on, then torque everything down. You'll see that there's two longer studs. Those are the ones that go up front to that hold actually the water neck on eventually. Because I was scratching my head for a minute. We're trying to remember where they were at, but quickly figured that out with the head. But we are starting to wrap up this assembly. We are very close to being done on the engine stand, and then it's time to get the car back out and over here so we can get it back in its spot and start it up and start making laps around the parking lot to break it in. All right, at this point, I'm just gonna roll it up with the back end straight up, set the big heavy cast iron bell housing on, and the big heavy flywheel, and the clutch. And then this side of the engine will be done and ready to go in the car. Unlike most engines, the Model 8 does not have a cam plug in the back. It utilizes the bell housing to create the other side to seal off oil coming out of the cam bearing. And that's where this little paper gasket comes into play. I'm going to put lots of goop on it. But it only has to be around the cam. All right, our project's looking pretty good here. This Model A engine is just about together. We need to add a couple things: generator, fan. We're gonna put the heater box on here, carburetor before we set it into the engine, or before we set it into the car, and then also, of course, the starter. But like every good project in every room, we got a lot of clutter from the project of not only this Model A, but also another engine that we're working on. So what we're gonna do first is clean up before we bring the Model A in here.